Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening sa bawat isa na nakikinig po sa amin. We are here again in the fourth quarter with Dr. Daniel Ferrer, and I am Jofer Aguila, right? So again, sir, how are you today?
Doing good. So good to
Yeah,
see your face.
yeah. My face is bigger here, right? It's bigger.
Yeah,
But how is your Thanksgiving, sir?
it was good. In America, we celebrate Thanksgiving, which is
Yeah,
it's a more sanctified holiday
correct,
than all the other holidays, and even more so than Easter, because Easter had a pagan beginning. But that's
correct.
another program. But
Yeah,
had a good week, and I'm so glad to be with you now.
yeah, sir. It's very good. Very good holiday, right? I mean, Thanksgiving, right? Did you eat
Amen.
turkey?
I got some turkey. Yes, sir, I did.
Yeah.
And I was with my children and had a great time. It was
Correct, correct.
great.
So again, sir, we will have another question for this for today, right? So again,
Yes, sir.
very important. So this is the question: Who can restore a fallen brethren, sir?
Okay. Well, then the verse that comes to mind would be Galatians 6:1 in the
Yes,
book of Galatians. Brethren, if a man be overtaken in a fault, ye which are spiritual, restore such a one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. If you look at that verse, it has more to say with the person who does the restoring than
correct,
it does to have about the guy that fell.
correct.
And you know what's interesting? It's kind of generic. It doesn't say what kind of fall was it.
Yeah,
Was it was it caught in a lie, or was he? It was it a immorality
correct.
or drunkenness or maybe a false doctrine? What is it? It
Yes,
just says, brethren, if a man be take if a man be overtaken, and you know something else too. Look at the word overtaken. It's kind of like it's Paul is presupposing that the guy that fell is a Christian.
yes,
So therefore, he doesn't agree with it. Let's say he fell, but he doesn't agree with it. So he got overtaken.
yeah,
In other words, it's a sad situation. He made a big mistake, but it doesn't define his character.
correct.
All right. But look what it says, ye which are spiritual. Now, Paul is suggesting that not everybody is spiritual. It says, ye which are spiritual. Restore such a one. In other words, take action. Take the right, because you know, the person who messes up, they're not going to call up all the Christians and say, hey, I just fell. Can you
Correct.
come and help me? They
Yeah,
don't do that. They feel ashamed, they withdraw, they hide. And so you got to reach out to them. And you may have to reach out to them more than once,
correct.
right? May have 10 times. And then it says in meekness and in fear, not in cockiness, not in like, how dare you? Oh, how could you do that? No, this is in meekness and fear. And then consider yourself. Unless, because you may be tempted to think, well, this guy is a scumbag. How could you do? No, no, no. Hey, buddy, you're no better.
Yes,
You know, okay, he got his girlfriend pregnant. Okay, they shouldn't have done that. But you know what? It's only by the, or how about this? Maybe you got your girlfriend pregnant years ago, but no one found out about it.
correct.
And you were able to hurry up and get married, and then no one shamed you. But this guy got caught. And so you better consider yourself,
Correct. And that's what the
unless
Bible
thou
also said,
also
right,
be.
sir? Considering thyself, lest thou also
Yeah.
be tempted, right? I mean, that's what the Bible
Right.
nailed it. The Bible nailed it, right? I mean, that's why maybe the Bible is suggesting that the people who should restore those fallen individuals are spiritual because um they can consider themselves, right? I mean, spiritual people
Yeah.
they know they are worse than the other people, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But Dr. Jofer, you know, and I know that you know people in your life that
Correct.
have messed up or got hurt. and how the pastors treated them.
Correct, correct.
And then you know what, how church members are. Church members follow their pastor. So if the pastor has a self-righteous, legalist
Correct.
type attitude, well, many of the church members will too. And then that poor brother that fell, or that poor sister, man, I mean, you talk about being ashamed, or it could even be worse than that. Let's say they get angry, because now they're angry. Well, wait. Even though I understand why you're angry, now's not the time to be super angry at your brethren.
Correct.
Remember when David committed adultery? There was a guy named Shimei, and Shimei was throwing dirt and stones at David. And who was it? Was it Abishai or Benaiah? I forget which one of his soldiers said, "Hey, let me go kill that guy. I'll cut his head off." And David said, "No, God has sent him to curse. So let him curse me. Maybe God will have mercy on me." You know, now what David did there, instead of David concentrating on Shimei, he concentrated on his own problem,
Correct.
because I think Absalom committed mutiny. And so I think if whoever's listening to you and I right now, if you are out of church and you're angry at that church because they mistreated you, first of all, number one, you're probably right. They probably did mistreat you. But that doesn't justify that you messed up.
Definitely, sir. Yeah. Correct.
So you need to you need to concentrate on your sin, and don't focus on the self-righteous brethren. So that's number one. Number two, Brother Jofer, and I'll let you talk. It is sad, Brother Jofer, and I say this with tears in my heart, that Baptists have a tendency to shoot their wounded.
Correct. Correct.
It's in America, Brother Jofer, there are Baptists that have left the Baptist church because the Baptists were so cruel and so judgmental, and they couldn't restore the guy. And so now he's going to an interdenominational church, or he's going to a charismatic church, which is another problem. But still, they pushed him out because he couldn't feel accepted. And so that's why I say your title that you said, "Who can restore the fallen?"
Correct.
Not many people. You got to be spiritual. So let me ask you, is a legalistic brother, let's say, Brother Joe, you did something wrong. And so the Baptist preachers that want to throw you away, are they spiritual?
I doubt. But I don't know, right? But I don't know, but I doubt
I'd say they're not spiritual.
correct. Because if they are spiritual, they'll be focusing
They're
on
not.
what their own mistakes, right? Their own shortcomings.
Or they'd be focusing on how can we help Brother Jofer.
Correct, correct.
Like they'd be saying, wait a minute, Brother Jofer, man, he's a good man. We love him. Let's try to restore him. Well,
Correct.
isn't that what they would do according to this
Correct,
verse?
correct. That's very amazing, right? I like what you said because the goal is to restore, right?
Right,
Put it back
right,
from where he was, right? That's very very
right.
important because some people are hurting, some people are in sin, right? And they need some help, and they're looking for some help. But I have another question, sir, because we already established, right? Who can help them? Uh, the people who are spiritual are the people who can help them, right? That's number one.
Yeah.
But another question is, how can you restore them? How? How can you restore them?
Well, one thing is compassion.
Yes, sir.
Compassion makes a difference. Now, Brother Joker, you've worked with me. It bothers me when somebody that I used to fellowship with and now they're messed up.
Correct.
Now, I do agree that sometimes you can't help them.
Correct.
They went out from us because they were not of us. For if they'd been of us, they no doubt would have continued with us. Okay, that's 1 John 2:19. But at least we got to try.
Yes.
You see, and I think what we can do. I was talking to John Leonard. We both know a person who is really getting messed up, and I don't know how to get a hold of this person. So I asked John Leonard, I said, can you please let this dear person know that I love them? And he's trying, but he can't get a hold of them. So I think, first of all, let them know. Because, see, people do get paranoid and they get hurt. And so they think, well, you're just trying to condemn me like all the others. No, no, I love you and I want to be your friend. I am your friend and I'm praying for you. And I think so. Number one, compassion. Number two, try to contact them. And then number three, then listen to them. I think sometimes this is where I have trouble. I want to do all the talking. No, I think I need to just shut up and listen to them and listen to their heartache, and then try to, with compassion, give biblical advice. But here's the last thing I'll say. Usually, one time is not enough.
Correct.
You're going to have to contact them again and again. Maybe take them out to eat, something like that. I had a friend that messed up and I stayed after him and he was so ashamed and so hurt. Listen to this, Jofer, he had Baptist preachers tell him, don't come to my church.
Yeah.
And they were independent Baptists, two of them. And he finally went to a Southern Baptist church. And then they criticized him for going to a Southern Baptist church, which I think is just crazy. But I stayed after him and stayed after him, and finally he knew that I loved him. And by the way, he's doing good now.
Correct.
He's serving the Lord,
That's
and
really
he's doing a lot better.
that's really good, sir.
So
Yeah. So at least we have at least 4 points that you have mentioned. How to restore. Number one is compassion. Then you need to communicate or
mhm,
contact them, right? Then you need to at
mhm,
least listen to them and to give advice, right? Very, very important. But
yeah,
I have another question, right? So because there are instances that you already mentioned, right? That there are some, for example, that there are some hurting people or fallen brethren that probably won't listen, right? Probably won't listen. So what do you think is, when do you think is the probably the time that you should say, maybe you need to give some time for that particular person because for now she won't listen or he won't listen, right?
mhm,
I mean, there is a
right.
right. I mean, because I guess many preachers are having a hard time with this particular issue because in their mind they already reach out, right? I mean, most preachers will say that, right? But again, how do you when do you think is the limitation, I mean, or how do you end that? I mean, when do you end that particular reach out, right? I mean, or when do you say it's enough, or will you give up or
Well,
give up, something like
it
that?
does say in meekness. It does say in meekness and in fear.
Correct, correct.
So, like for instance, if let's say somebody, their child got killed
Yeah,
in a horrible accident, well, they may be angry at God. Like I know a guy right now, his mother died, and he's angry at God. Well, I've got to consider the pain they're in. Maybe they're in a lot of pain, and so like Jeremiah complained against God. So did Elijah.
correct,
So you got to be patient with people. You can't just condemn them. And then what you just said was good. You got to give it time.
correct.
But I think another way to answer your question is I'm listening to their attitude. What is this attitude one of rebellion?
Correct.
Is this an attitude of brokenness?
Correct. Correct.
Like, or is this rebellion? Now, if it's
Because correct.
rebellion,
Yeah, yeah. Because to be
then I'll bring that up.
correct.
See?
To be fair with other pastors, right? Like you, I guess you experienced that, right? There are other good pastors that they reach out to some brethren or to some members, but but those members really hate the pastor, right? I mean, what will they do? I mean, those
Yeah. Yeah. Well, then maybe they're not saved. So if, like, for instance, if there's a big sin in their life, like let's say you've got a young lady and she's living with the guy and they're
correct,
not married. Okay. Now it could be she's just lonely and she's discouraged and now she's ashamed, or it could be she's defensive. Hey, it's my life. You can't tell me what to do. All right. We got a bigger problem now. The bigger problem is, are you saved? Do you, because you see, that attitude is everything. Because see, a born again Christian is ashamed of their sin. A born again Christian is ashamed of what they've done wrong. They may be defensive a little bit, but eventually, with love and compassion, they'll break down and say, "You're right, Pastor. I'm sorry." But if they're going to fight you and say, "You have no right to judge me," and I'm not coming back to church, well, then maybe they're not saved. And so then I would just go. I would just go for the heart. Have you been born again?
Correct.
And then there comes a time, Brother Joe, where you may have to leave them. You have to leave them in God's hands. And then, of course, if you're the pastor, you may have to exclude them from the fellowship of the church. You may have to, that they may learn. You see, because they're in God's hands. But
Correct.
this verse, Galatians 6:1, is not just talking about a pastor, because it said brethren. It didn't
Correct.
say elders.
Correct.
So, like, you've got friends,
Yeah.
you got a good friend named John Leonard, you got a friend named JR, you got a good friend named Wendell, and if one of your friends were hurting, then Jofer needs to be spiritual
Correct.
and be the one that reaches out to them.
Yes, sir.
Um, I'll shut up after this. I think the thing that I see, and I see it in the Philippines. So if anybody's listening, there's a lot of self-righteous, legalistic, um, unloving type brethren in America and the Philippines.
Yes.
And you know what? I want to say this. Maybe they're the one that's fallen.
Correct.
Now, pause for a second. Who is the fallen brother? The one who got drunk, or the one who's self-righteous and legalistic and wants to condemn them and doesn't try to restore them?
Correct. 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 I remember the story of the prodigal son, right? I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what happened there, right?
See, I say both are fallen.
Correct.
And it's sad. And so it needs to be fixed. So if any pastors are listening to us, if there's an attitude of this legalistic self-righteousness in your church, you need to fix that, because you will, as Paul said to the Corinthians, you bite and you devour one another.
Yes.
We all mess up, man. We all need some compassion.
Correct.
And if you're spiritual, you'll do it. Well, I appreciate Brother Joper for
Yes, sir.
guiding me through those questions.
Correct. Correct.
And I love you. If you ever mess up, Jofer, I'll be there for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm always messing up, sir.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, I love you. Thank you so much.
Correct.
God bless you, sir.
See you again, sir. Bye-bye, sir.
All right, bye-bye.